Well, hey y'all. I am talking about the Department of Education this week because I think that it is an interesting conversation and at the heart of something that's very important. The idea of federal control versus local control. That's where we're at the heart of it. And that's what all of this Doge stuff is really talking about. It is the failure of the federal government to control effectively, and the idea that people who are at the local level can do it better, people who are closer to it. You know, as a person who's getting older, I have found that it is a lot easier to see the number here if I get my eyeballs closer. If I get rid of the filter and get my eyeballs closer to the money, I can see it better. And I think the idea of local governments being able and state governments being closer to the thing, whatever it is, whether it be education, whether it be environmental protection, no matter what it is, I think that it is easier to see the corruption. And when you find the corruption, the people are much closer. It isn't some glitch in the federal system or some idea that some federal bureaucrat had and went with it. A couple of, and more than that, a bad idea stays local. So if you have somebody who is just, and they get together and they have a really horrific idea, it isn't that that idea gets spread nationwide. That idea stays in Deerfield Beach, Florida, as opposed to comes, ends up in Tallahassee, Florida, or it happens in Atlanta, Georgia, and it doesn't get to Tallahassee, Florida, it doesn't get to Miami, Florida, or it doesn't get to Los Angeles, California. It doesn't. It's a bad idea stays local. And you know what about good ideas? What about good ideas? People will find out about good ideas, and then people will try them. People will try them. People will find out about stuff that works because there are people especially in education, who are like, "Hey, man, I was reading this article about this program they have in Walla Walla, and they're about the same size city we are. Maybe we should try it." And then people do investigations and they read about it and they talk to people in Walla Walla, and good ideas will find their way. Good ideas will find their way. Now, if someone in the federal government, the Department of Education, or the EPA, or the Department of Energy has a bad idea, then what happens is that bad idea, depending on where it comes from, gets spread by a whole bunch of people who say yes, and then everybody's dealing with it. That idea may work in theory, but it doesn't work in a rural school district in Oklahoma, or it doesn't work in an urban school district in Detroit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to fight with y'all. See, y'all think this is a Trump Elon thing when it really isn't. This is a federal control thing or a local control thing, and it basically talks about the very same thing that we talk about here all the time. Um, what is the role of the federal government? What is the role of the federal government? What's the role of the federal government? What are they supposed to be doing? Are they supposed to be taking care of us from the cradle to the grave? And you're saying, oh, you're just saying that stuff. Well, I'm old enough to remember when babies left the hospital. You know what they didn't get? They didn't get a social security number, and now they do. And now they do. One of the things that you have to have before you take your baby home from the hospital is a car seat, not a bad idea, and a social security number. What the hell does a 10-day old child need with a social security number? For what reason? So they can be accounted by the federal government. Think about See, we don't like to think about it because we get really used to doing what we're doing, and then we get used to being jacked up on our side of the aisle, wearing our red shirt or our blue shirt, and Trump is orange man bad, and we get so used to that, where we just can't have that conversation about what is the federal government doing, what is their role, why are they in my life at the level they're in my life, why? Yeah, you like to think it's just taxes, right? You like to think it's just the IRS, yeah, but it's more. It's more. Department of Energy. You tell me in the comments how the Department of Energy, since its inception, has helped you one iota, has helped the country one iota. Go ahead. Write it in the comments. Go ahead. You can't, can you? But you know what? If Elon says we need to get rid of the Department of Energy, some of y'all will go bananas. Some people will go absolutely bananas. We didn't elect Elon Musk. You know who else you didn't elect? Directly anyway, Kamala Harris. Not directly. Because that's I know a lot of you don't know, but that's not how we're supposed to have presidential elections. We're supposed to, all you constitutionalists, all you people out there going, this isn't constitutional, blah, 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 blah. Where were all those judges, those federal judges, when we're holding presidential elections and not electing the vice president too? Where were they when they're deciding? When some of them are deciding now, putting their activism out there now that the president, who is the head of the executive branch, can't make executive decisions for those things that are in the executive branch, the people who serve at the pleasure of the president. So when you say that we didn't elect Elon Musk, you didn't elect a lot of people. You didn't elect anybody in Joe Biden or Barack Obama or George Bush's or Ronald Reagan's cabinet. You didn't elect any of those people either, or any of the advisors that you don't know about. You didn't elect any of the people that those guys made a phone call to and said, "What about this? What do you think?" Because every president has had advisors that weren't in their cabinet. It'd be nice to think that they don't, but they do. As do all governors and mayors and city council people and county commissioners, people who are not elected, people who may be business owners, people who may be personal friends of theirs, relatives, just regular citizens, just you. You may indeed be the special advisor to somebody who's in politics in your town, and you weren't elected. But this whole notion that he wasn't elected, we didn't elect him, that I hear from people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Maxine Waters and AOC and Jasmine Crockett and all. Please, hush, shh, be quiet, be quiet. Especially if you know what the deal is. It doesn't. I think a mistake that a lot of Republicans and conservatives make is thinking that these people are stupid. Well, they're not stupid because they know better. They know. They know what the deal is. They just lie about it. They just continue to lie about it because they understand. They know presidents have advisors. The difference between other presidential advisors over time and Elon Musk is that you happen to know Elon Musk. That's really the only difference. And Elon Musk isn't firing anybody. That's a narrative that's simply not true. Elon Musk is not taking apart the Department of Education. What he's saying is, hey, hey, Don, I think that the Department of Education thing, you should probably get rid of that. That's terrible. And this is why. Elon Musk doesn't have the power to go in and fire anybody. Elon Musk is not firing anybody. And this is a media narrative that's out there. Just a media narrative out there. Elon Musk is not walking around going, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. Like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer's going, you're cut, you're cut, you're cut. It's not happening. It's making suggestions, recommendations that are being followed up on. And they hate that. But you've seen the video, we've played it here, that Barack Obama did the very same thing and had his unelected vice president. He was elected. No, he wasn't. There was not a vice presidential election that year. We haven't had a vice presidential election in years, more than 100 years. Most of you didn't even know. If you ask most people on the street in your house, is this running mate thing that we do, is that constitutional? Yes. Go find it in the Constitution. I'll wait. Find it? You're not going to. What you're going to find is that there needs to be a separate election for vice president. There needs to be a ballot for vice president. And some states do it. Some states have a governor and they elect a lieutenant governor. Florida is not one of those states. We get the governor and a running mate who serves as the lieutenant governor. Why they call them lieutenant governors, I don't know. It's weird, as opposed to vice governor. Whatever. But so when I hear we didn't elect Elon Musk, you didn't elect Joe Biden either. You didn't elect Kamala Harris. You didn't, and you didn't elect JD Vance either, for that matter. You elected Barack Obama, yes. You elected Joe Biden, maybe. You you elected Donald Trump, not once but twice. Not once but twice. Right? You elected George Bush, the first one and the second one. Yeah. Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton. Yeah, but you didn't elect their vice presidents. You didn't elect Dick Cheney. You didn't. And nobody elected Gerald Ford. Wow. Wow. Look it up. So what's happening with the Department of Education, let's get back to that, specifically, is perfectly okay. The Department of Education basically is I think, the epitome of what's wrong. Some people are saying, how are we going to make sure that these states are accountable? Well, I just told you, the closer your eyeballs are to the money, the easier it is to see. So you still have accountability issues at the federal level. There's still waste, fraud, and abuse. We're seeing it. And if the federal people could control what the solutions are, I mean, if federal control was the solutions, we wouldn't have major urban districts with graduation rates less than 60%, like Baltimore and Detroit. If indeed the DOE, Department of Education, was doing any sort of job at all, how do you have these major urban areas in America that have graduation rates less than 60%? And reading scores in Baltimore in certain areas where not one single child in certain districts are reading at grade level. When we are seeing nationwide declines in math and reading scores For example, the NAEP scores dropping in recent years. So we have this spending, which is we spend more on education than anybody else in the world. Massive spending on education per student, and and we're getting mediocre outcomes. So when people say, when we hear people talking about the Department of Education, talking about federal spending and taxes, and talking about how bad education is in America or how bad education is in your state, and we need to spend more money. We already spend more money on education per student than most countries in the world. So if money was the answer, there wouldn't be a problem. There wouldn't be a problem. So if the federal model isn't working, and it doesn't seem to be working, it makes sense to let states be innovative, try something else, and compete. Some states may fail, but that's already happening under federal control. It's already happening. Some states are already failing. The difference, like I said before, bad policies wouldn't be forced on all 50 states. Now, here's how something could work. A competitive model, a state model, this is how it could work. States experiment with different approaches. Like here in this district where I taught in for 15 years, we tried block scheduling, Copernican plan scheduling. And if you don't know what that is, a school will have four, and this changes too. There's all sorts of variations of this. That's how we did at the school I worked in. We had 4 periods a day instead of 6 or 7. Each period was 90 minutes. Okay. 90, each period was 90 minutes. And you would complete a what for everybody else was a entire course, a year course in a semester. So the student had a chance to get 8 credits instead of 6 or 7 in a year. Sounds good. Sounds good. It's a great plan with great intentions. Now, hopefully the idea was with spending more time in the classroom, you could get more, you could do more. You had more time to do more than lecture. You had time to deal with students' learning styles and all sorts of things that you may not have had time in a 50-minute period to do, right? That made sense. Some schools in the district were on a Copernican plan block scheduling. My school, the one I was at, that was the first one in our district that did that. Other schools said, we want to try it too, and they tried it too. Other schools were like, nah, we're cool. We're cool with our 7-period day or 6-period day. We're cool. So we had these, so basically we had these experiments going on, and we could compare. We could compare. As it is now, everybody here in the district's on a 6-period day. All the high schools are on a 6-period day. There are no more block scheduling schools. What did we find out? First of all, for the expense and the trouble it took when kids left one school and went to another, it wasn't worth it. There wasn't a big enough benefit. Oh, my son went to a block scheduling school. He said he loved it. I was in high school. I was on double sessions, and people hate double sessions. I loved it. And I talked to teachers who loved it. So it just depends. Which depends on what you get used to, right? So states get to experiment with stuff. Others may invest highly in public school funding and teacher pay, like in Massachusetts. Some schools districts are still under the mind that if we pay our teachers more, they'll do better, and they'll do better, and our kids will get more. Maybe try it if you can afford it. Try it. Parents and educators could see what works best and move forward on the things that work best. Successful states set the standard. Like I said before, if a state produces some program that really works, people will find out about it. If I don't know, let's pick a state, Tennessee. Okay. Hypothetically, if Tennessee has a program that really seems to be kicked off and is working well, especially with the rural, their rural districts and their rural students, Oklahoma may look at that, or Kentucky may look at that, or Ohio may look at that and go, well, that works in their rural areas. Maybe we'll try it too. Maybe we'll try that too. And if you've got states that are or areas that are bordering each other, one state says, hey, listen, our education system is cranking and we're doing this, this, and this, and this, this. A bordering state may go, hey, listen, we want you here too. Oregon might say, if you're going to be in technology and be on the West Coast, you need to come and move to Oregon, or instead of being in California, or you need to be in Arizona instead of being in California because our schools are better, and they can prove it. And that forces California schools to be better, and that forces Arizona schools to be better. Or, I'm sorry, Nevada schools to be better. You know what I'm saying, right? One more time. And bad policies, crap that doesn't work, stays in areas, hopefully, that doesn't work. And it isn't forced on everybody else. Bad policies like the block scheduling policy didn't get spread to another county or to another state. It didn't get spread to any other schools. It was in the schools it was in, and then it was gone. So is there a real argument for keeping the Department of Education? The biggest argument that you're going to hear is based on fear. Fear that somehow there will be inequality. Some states may fail their students without federal oversight. I guess they could. That's why you have parents. That's why you have parents. But that assumes that the federal government is capable of preventing failure, which it hasn't proven it can do. We still have kids trapped in failing schools with federal oversight, with Title I funds being misused for all sorts of things. So this idea of this one-size-fits-all is one-size-fits-all failure. We could have state-driven success and state-driven failure, but at least there's the chance that we can improve. The big picture is this, that federal oversight has not prevented disasters. Why? So why make the assumption that it's necessary? All the scientists that sent men to the moon were educated without the Department of Education in existence in America. Every single one of them. Why the assumption that if we don't have the Department of Education, then we're going to be in trouble educationally? That somehow Elon Musk, he is not, we've talked about that, destroying American education, or Donald Trump destroying American education. Why are people saying that? Why is the media saying that? It didn't have anything to do with education. It has more to do with Trump. It has more to do with control, right? It has more to do with the narrative. Anyway, I got to get out of here. Maybe for somebody else. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, take care of yourself. We'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.
Welcome to the Morning Report, a production of FightBackMedia.com, the #1 source of urban conservative information in America.